Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy AA Round 2 for 20, bringing you guys my Baby League Week 7 game. Now, I know I said I'd have this up a while ago, but literally right after my update video, I tried recording this. I ended up actually having Camtasia crash on me. Spent the entire rest of the day mad at Camtasia because I don't use OBS to record my Citrus stuff just because it causes lag at certain parts, so I just recorded in OBS. So because Camtasia crashed me, I got salty, didn't record that day. Then was busy the next like 5 or 6 days between just being busy and also in and out of hospital. I'm better now, which is obviously why I'm recording now, but just wanted to let you guys know that I'm back. I will have this up. This will probably be up Friday. It might even be up Thursday, to be honest. If it's up Friday, I'm going to have a Wi-Fi battle up at some point like next week. If it's up Thursday, which is the day I'm recording it, then I'll have a Wi-Fi battle up tomorrow. And then I will have, regardless, I will have Baby League Round 1 playoffs, which I already told you guys I made. I'm going to have that up on Saturday with D-League Team Builder. I will have my game versus CJ up on Sunday. And then Monday will be Week 1 BBL, and Tuesday will probably be the day I have the Wi-Fi battle stuff. Also, I will have BBL Team Builder up on Sunday as well, because I know you guys said you wanted to do separate team builders for now on. You can comment in that video if you want different though. But yeah, I figured that's enough updating for now. Also started streaming. I did that on the worst day possible for my internet. Actually, it was a horrible storm. So obviously, you know, I'm gonna start linking my Twitch down below too, because I'm gonna try and at least stream like once a week, if not more. So make sure to check that out as well. But anyway, we are here for Week 7 of the Baby League. Now, I know I already spoiled it in my update, and I already spoiled it in this video, but we did make playoffs guaranteed. Basically, we would have, the only way we didn't make playoffs is we would have needed to get slaughtered this game. So you can, at the very least, know I didn't get 6-0'd again, guys. Do not worry, no 6-0 loss here. So, I'll go into my opponent's team real quick before I go into the team. My opponent has Mienfoo, Alolan Grimer, Vullaby, Spritzee, Magby, Slowpoke, Alolan Vulpix, Gullet, Sandshrew, Alolan, and Dwebble. The team that I expected was the top 3 being Mienfoo, Alolan Grimer, Vullaby, and then Alolan Vulpix, Sandshrew, and Dwebble. Those were the ones that I expected to come, mainly just because Double Dark Core, especially with Alolan Grimer and Vullaby, is insanely hard to break. My team does not break it that well. I have Chinchou and I have Hippopotas, and that's about all I have really around that core. So, I felt like it was a very solid break versus me. I also felt like Mienfoo, of course, very terrifying mod. I would not want to play it ever, but sadly my opponent has it. And I have ways around it for sure, and I'll get into those in a minute. In terms of the Hail core, I figured, Hail, it's a really solid way if my opponent kills off Torchic early on, then Hail kind of does a lot to my team besides like Chinchou. But even to an extent, Chinchou still can get whittled down by like Earthquake from Alolan Sandslash. And then Dwebble, hazard stacking again, does very nice versus my team. My removal isn't the best. I think it's literally just Rufflet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, my removal on this team is entirely just Rufflet. So, actually, I have Torchic too. I think it's Defog as well. I know Blaziken does. Torchic might as well. The point is, though, is my removal is pretty shit, and it's both weak to rocks, with Torchic also being spikes, taking spikes damage. So my removal is not the best. So Dwebble bringing hazards versus my team is a very, very solid bring. So my first mon this week is going to be my lead, Tom Robinson, the GOAT Hippopotas, with Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Protect, and Slack Off. I Protect here mainly just as a way to, 1, stall at Hail turns if I need to, and 2, also because I have some other mons later on that will just be nice overall for making my opponent's team get whittled down if I have Protect off. Also, it's really nice for a Mienfoo check, that's why I have Rocky Helmet as well, because Protect allows me to make my opponent miss High Jump Kick, and then they're going to take half, of course. If he's regen, he can just get it back mostly, but he will still be losing HP. Of course, Rocky Helmet also makes so that my opponent, if he tries to hit my Hippopotas, is going to take damage as well from the Rocky Helmet. That's very nice. I'm expecting a Reckless Mienfoo, mainly just because it helps break through a lot of my fatter walls really easily. Otherwise, Hippopotas could even potentially break it, to be honest. So, overall, though, I feel like that this set will be fine versus Mienfoo. That's really what I need it for. Next up, I have Sticky Boy, our Swirlix, with Sticky Web, Player Off, Endeavor, Flamethrower. Now, a few things about this spread. One, it sort of hit me that Endeavor was a really awful move on a spread like this because I'm going to be outspeeding my opponent. Unless if I click Endeavor literally the turn that my opponent breaks me with Grimer. 2, this is a very situational set. It only does anything besides set up webs if my opponent brings Grimer, otherwise I get up webs and it's sack fodder. And that's really it to this spread. It's meant to outspeed his whole team, of course, once I get the burden off, but he needs to bring Grimer for that to happen, and it can literally only be Grimer. Next up, we have Wong, our Adamant Metatite with High Jump Kick, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Bulk Up. If I can get up webs, this thing plows through any non-Scarfers on my opponent's team, unless if Sandshrew is in the Hail, of course. But even then, I think I might even outspeed it then. I'm fairly certain. If not, then I just spread cut this thing wrong. And I know it's around here, because I'm fairly certain Sandshrew is either 40 or 45. I know that this would actually just be outsped by Bulbasaur at +2, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, though, is I believe that with webs up, we outspeed any prevalent Scarfers, if I am not mistaken. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone will. Point is, though, the spread is mainly just because Bulk Up, High Jump Kick, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch hit his team pretty well. He doesn't really have anything that takes the 3 moves above, and then Bulk Up just helps me break through his team easier. Simple as that. Next up, I have Blood Power Chinchou. The Calm Nature with Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Toxic, and Heal Bell. I expect potential Toxic as well on something such as the Vullaby, because Vullaby could very easily just Toxic my team, wear it down, and start roosting up as it's really fat. Grimer, if it got anything off with Poison Touch, I don't expect it to be Poison Touch, but if it did run that set, that could also be very detrimental to my team. And again, Gluttony, if you just run like Toxic, Curse, Dual Stab with like a Berry or something, that just sits on my team, and I don't have the best ways around that. So having Heal Bell at the very least makes it so I don't get Toxic stalled. And Toxic helps break down his walls, such as Slowpoke, Golett, Vullaby. All those things are going to hate getting Toxic. Next up, I have Torchic-Fillet, our Torchic, with Protect, Overheat, Hidden Power, I believe Hidden Power Grass, or Hidden Power Electric. I forget which, but point is it's a coverage for the Golett. I'm pretty sure it's Grass because it would also hit the Slowpoke. And then Fire Blast. I really didn't need another move on this set this week, besides Protect, Overheat, and Hidden Power. So I just run Fire Blast. Figured might as well if I'm trying to just sweep late game and I don't want to lower my special attack. And, oh wait, that was down. And finally, we have Little Boar, our Rufflet, with Brave Bird, Bulk Up, Superpower, and Shadow Claw with the Flyinium Z. I figured if I can get the Flyinium Z off, I can potentially save myself from taking recoil damage, of course, since I don't have Roost this week. Shadow Claw is a really good way to hit the Golett, because otherwise Golett would take the other 2 moves really well. Of course, Hustle, just to break stuff better. This set, again, really sweeps through his team if I can get webs up, and if I can't, then it still at least takes hits well enough to the point where I can still plow through his team late game. So that is our team for this week, and let's get right into the game. So as you can see by the lack of lack of restraint from talking about how the Vullaby Grimer core could have ran through my team. I was a little bit surprised to not see it come. I was not surprised by what came in its place, being Golett and Slowpoke, but I still really expected Vullaby Grimer. That would have been so much of a harder core to break through, in my opinion. But it's fine. Regardless, my team, if anything, is better equipped to handle those, so I'm not mad about it. My opponent still also brings the Dwebble, Mienfoo, and the Hail core that I expected. In terms of a lead, he has to lead off with Dwebble. If he can't guarantee that he gets hazards early on versus my potential lead, which is literally Hippopotas, then he kind of misses out on getting hazards up in general, because eventually it'll just get to a point where it's too late, and then he really needs a hazards to even win with this team. So I'm expecting a Dwebble lead 100%. I figured that leading off with Hippopotas, getting up my rocks is really important to me. There's nothing very, like, lead off if he leads off with Hippopotas like I expect that could necessarily stop him from getting up hazards. I sort of just have to let it happen. Because even if I switched out, first turn he gets up rocks, even if I did just go right for killing it off, he, 1, could always have, like, a berry, for example, to get himself back up. And 2, of course, there's also 30, so he would guarantee get up at the very least 1 set of rocks and 1 set of spikes, and that alone is enough to break my team. So I figured I'd rather get up my rocks at the very least to try and whittle him down as well, as he does not have removal this week as far as I'm aware. And because of that, I can at the very least try and wear down things later on. I can always Toxic Stall his team with Chinchou and Hippopotas, and then I can try and beat his team with what I have in terms of between Hippopotas and Chinchou alone, just trying to 1v1 his entire team pretty much, because they can pretty much do that unless if, of course, the Vulpix is Freeze Dry. But even if it does have Freeze Dry, I do have other ways around that, such as Meta-type, because it's not a Fairy type, so it, of course, does not get stabbed on the Moonblast, and that also means a High Jump Kick is just going to hit it for super effective. And even then, it's a pretty frail mon anyway, and a Violet isn't a thing, so it would not take a High Jump Kick anyway. So, of course, at this point, I'm just trying to kill him off with Earthquake. He's getting up his hazards. So, Of course, I am really just waiting for any sort of opportunity to kill this thing. Luckily here, we do crit. There was a very, very tiny roll that we killed anyway, but it was pretty much, like, I wouldn't need to get 100% max roll to have killed there. So I'm glad that I at least killed there, because he could have potentially knocked off my helmet. According to my opponent, he had knockoff in his spread, and that would have definitely been detrimental to 1v1ing something like a Mianfu later on in the game. So at this point, I'm going to just go for Protect and Scout. What he's going to go for, he goes for the Earthquake here. Probably predicted my switch. I figured he's not going to go for it twice, and I'm going to be pretty free to switch into Chinchou. He thinks I'm staying in at this point, it seems like, so my guess is that he's going to try and hit me with something that's going to actually hit me, whether that's Ice Beam or Surf. So I go right into Blub by our Chinchou, and he actually ends up going perfectly and just going right for what I expected him to, being the Scald. And we're going to get our HP pretty much back to full because of that. Very, very nice that we're going to have Blub back at near full HP, especially with the leftovers, as I'm able to go for a Toxic here pretty freely on whatever wants to switch in, as I'm assuming he doesn't want to just leave in Cappy, because if he left it in on a Chinchou, I'm going to just start spamming Volt Switch plus Toxic and then just start wearing down his Slowbro. So he does go into Bitburger here, of course. Perfectly fine by me that he wants to burn this thing. He probably thought he would bring it in for free on an electric move, because I have not brought a single defensive Chinchou spread the entire season, or at the very least in terms of moveset. It's always been Ice Beam, Hydro, Electric Move, Hidden Power, or if not Hidden Power, then Volt Switch and Thunderbolt as my 2 electric moves. So the fact that I'm bringing Toxic is, of course, a very nice change of pace. It does also help a lot with the Wall Core here, as I'm able to just Toxic it for free. This is why Grimer, I felt like, would have been great for some of my team. But of course, I'm now able to get off a Hydro Pump. Of course, he missed, which is unfortunate, but it's not that big of a deal. I do, of course, find these leftovers from my rocks, and I can always just Toxic this thing anyway. So it's pretty free now that both of his walls are Toxic. Very, very good position I'm in, because he also has no way to clear this as well. So his team is just going to be forced to... Well, actually, he does have Vulpix with Heal Bell in hindsight, but I feel like it just wouldn't really fit it on, because of course it would need Veil. It would also need Freeze Drive, of course. He'd probably bring Blizzard as well, just to hit my team overall for a very spammable move besides Chinchou. And then my guess is he'd probably bring something for the Meditite as well. So even if he didn't bring Blizzard, I still don't really think that he's going to bring Heal Belt necessarily. If he does, then of course very good prep on my opponent's part. But I just didn't see it likely. So now that I have gotten the Toxic off on everything I need to, I'm just going to Volt Switch here. There's no real reason for me to stay in and just sack Chinchou to an Earthquake. So I'm actually going to go into a little Borb here. I figured that might as well, because if he's just going to go for Earthquake, I'm pretty free to just take that, as I'm immune to it, of course. So, of course, perfect for us. He does go for the Earthquake, and we do absorb that 100%. And he is now getting worn down even more by Toxic. So that's very nice for us, of course, in terms of the late game, trying to just stall out his entire team with Chinchou plus Hippopotas. As once Slowpoke goes, he really doesn't have anything else that wants to take on... Well, one, he doesn't really have anything else that really wants to even take on Meditite, to be honest, because Slowpoke isn't actually a Psychic type, it's just a really fat, bulky water that could potentially Scald Burn to us. So, we're only looking more and more of a position to just get a Meditite sweep. And not only that, but because of the way that his Slowpoke is pretty much dead at this point, I was free to just go for Shadow Claw. Of course, we do miss there because of Hustle. I should have just went for the Z Brave Bird just to guarantee that I hit, and then preserve Rufflet, but it's fine. It doesn't end up being that big of a deal. Rufflet wasn't really a win con this week anyway, especially since he did not bring the Volibee or the Grimer, so I didn't need anything to just hard break his team with Hustle, Flying EMZ, Brave Bird. So Slowpoke also goes down here anyway to Toxic, so again, not that big of a deal. We'd already got rid of Slowpoke, very big threat to our team. I figured at this point, I might as well just go for Webs. There's really nothing else that I even need to do, let alone want to do versus his team with my Swirlix. So Swirlix is essentially just a sack. I just figured I can get up Webs. If he does try and just kill me off right away, no big deal. I can just sack this thing, and there's really nothing it helps with. Because even like the Mianfu, for example, I do have other ways around that, such as Meditite. And if I get up Webs, my things like Meditite are going to guarantee beat it anyway. Because even if it's Scarfed, I can always play around that very easily with things like a Pop Toss plus Meditite. So I'm not really concerned about a Scarf Mianfu necessarily. And I see that he went for Rock Polish last turn. It wasn't really that big of a deal. I have plenty of ways around this thing. I'm just going to sack Sticky Boy. There's no reason in switching in something and just letting it take damage when Sticky Boy is 100% a sack at this point. I also found that he's Life Orb here, so I know for a fact he's just going to kill himself off between Toxic and Life Orb. So I bring in Tom Robinson to go, and I figured I might as well just try and slack off this turn. There's no real reason not to, because even if he goes for Ice Punch, he cannot kill me off, and I'm going to be gaining HP back slowly versus him. I calced and made sure that I'm free. I also went for Protect here. before I actually went to heal up, because I figured main reason being is, one, I wanted to see if he had Ice Punch just to make myself aware to his spread in case he tried to switch out later on. And two, I figured that it also made sense because I might as well just let him take more toxic damage and then kill himself off guaranteed this turn, instead of just taking 2 Ice Punches. In hindsight, I could have just went for Protect next turn, but it really wouldn't have mattered the order anyway. Regardless though, the Slack Off plus Protect combo does get me back up to a decent amount of HP, not necessarily full, but a decent amount of HP. And then of course he does lose his Golett regardless. So now that Golett is gone, I am pretty free to just sweep with Metatite at this point. There's not really anything else that would necessarily try and kill me off right away, because Golett of course could have Shadow Punch, that could have been very detrimental as it does have a really high base attack stat. Vulpix can't break me though. Sandshrew I'm sure can't break me though. Mienfoo definitely can't break me, and that's really all he has left. So I'm just at this point trying to just go for Earthquake. I figured I might as well not let him get up Aurora Veil for free. I might as well just try and go for Earthquake and just see what I can do in terms of damage with the Veil up. And I see that I actually do a fair amount of damage in terms of a mon that has like no offense whatsoever. Not the best damage of course, but this thing isn't necessarily a breaker anyway, it's just meant to take hits really well. So at this point I do sack Blub Blub. I figured that I might as well just bring this thing in and just let it die to hazards and bring in my Torchic and just see what kind of destruction I can cause, because at this point he does have a Vulpix, a Sandshrew, and a Mienfoo that once I get to +1 speed, I essentially sweep through all those anyway, even with the Veil up. There's really not much that my opponent can do at this point, because it's not like he's going to switch in something on my Torchic, because Torchic is a motherfucking monster. I'm free to just go for the Fire Blast here, because even if he did hard swap into Mienfoo, Fire Blast plus Overheat would have killed it off. In terms of the Vulpix, obviously it died there, and the Sandshrew obviously would have died because it's 4 times weak to fire. So we are going to get to +1 here, which means that we're going to outspeed Mienfoo regardless because of our webs up on his side of the field as well, which is perfectly fine by me. If he wants to go for Fake Out, perfectly fine to let him do that, because it's not like it's going to bother me anyway, as at this point Metatite 100% sweeps anyway through his team. And not only that, but I can also go for a Protect here and just make sure that he can't get that Fake Out off, of course trying to get as much damage off on him as possible by letting this extra turn of Hail hit him down, which is obviously better, because the more damage he takes, the less that I need to do to him. So letting myself, of course, take the Hail damage again, it's no big deal because I'm just free to go for Overheat. I do have other ways around his Sandshrew and his Mienfoo, so it's not that big of a deal just going for Overheat and sacking, because even then I couldn't bring this thing back in on hazards, so there's no real purpose to try and like preserve this thing or anything, because it would just end up being a sack. So I might as well just let this thing also take as much damage as possible, because if he wanted to go for Drain Punch, he's now getting back less HP as well, because I'm at a lower HP because of the Hail. Even if it's just like 2 or 3 HP that he doesn't get back, that's 2 or 3 HP that helps with rolls later on. So at this point I do bring in Wong here, and I almost kind of misplay in terms of just not going straight for the attack, because I could have realistically just killed this thing off. I overestimated Veil, and I went for a bulk up because I didn't want to miss high jump kick, and I let him Toxic me. Now it doesn't end up making a big deal in the long run, but this could have been pretty detrimental if he had Protect on either of his mons, as it would have guaranteed that he could have actually killed off my Metatite between the turn of events that happened, of course. So that could have been a very big deal. Of course, as I said, it didn't end up being that big of a deal, because I'm free to just go for an Ice Punch here. I figured that I'm guaranteed killing anyway. If he goes into Sandshrew, I can just go for Thunder Punch next turn. I'm not sure why I didn't just go for Thunder Punch right away, because it hit both of his mons obviously, but I mean it didn't end up mattering, I guess. So he does go into Sandshrew here, his last mon. I figured that at this point I might as well just go for High Jump Kick, because depending on his spread, there's a small chance he can live a Thunder Punch at this point. Of course he would need to be pretty much max Fizz Def, but there's still a small chance, so I'm just going for the High Jump Kick at this point, not risking anything, and I do kill the Sandshrew and we do win the game 2-0. So of course, the crit on the Dwebble, very unfortunate, because as you saw, it allowed us to 1v1 his entire team with essentially Hippopotas plus Chinchou. So him having to deal with my helmet, of course, did put him in a little bit of a bad position. I still think that Metatite could have potentially won, but of course it would have been a whole different game because I wouldn't have been able to do as much with Hippopotas as I did. But regardless though, I think that we played really well. We're 5-2. We're actually playing against Lars for round 1 playoffs, so it makes sense we started round 1 of the season with Lars, and we're going to finish round 1 playoffs with Lars, or play Lars in round 1 of the playoff set. The winner of Asalakoren v Zilix will be our finals opponent should we beat Lars, And I will see you guys on Saturday for that game. Of course, if you guys did enjoy, leave a like down below. If you're excited for our playoff run, of course, make sure to comment that down below too. Let us know if you think we'll win it all, if you think we're going to get bodied round 1 by Lars. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.